The day's business news, and for that I'm joined on set again by Stephen Carroll. Hello.
Hello, Jade.
We're going to start with that parting gift from the Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke.
Yes, his last meeting as Fed chairman, and he decided to reduce the stimulus to the American economy by $10 billion a month. That means the Federal Reserve will be pumping just $65 billion into the American economy every month in an effort to stimulate the recovery. The reason they're doing this is because the economic signs are pointing up. Unemployment is coming down, which was the key indicator for the Fed. In their statement, the Fed made no mention of the turmoil this so-called tapering is causing in emerging markets. South Africa, just the latest country forced to raise its interest rates to try to bolster the value of its currency after the effects being seen of tapering elsewhere.
All right, and how did that affect the stock markets?
We'll start in Asia, where in Japan, shares in the Nikkei closed down 2.45%. Plenty of sell-offs there by investors. India, one of the currencies worst hit when the Fed began tapering. Shares in Mumbai there on the Sensex down over 1%. Here in Europe, things are calmer, but still opening in the red across the board. In London, shares in the oil company Shell were up 1.4%, despite posting an almost 40% reduction in profits for last year. The drinks giant Diageo, meanwhile, opening down more than 3% after reporting sales up 1.8% in the last 6 months. Investors worried there about how they're doing in Western Europe in particular. And just a word on Spain too. Growth there for the last 3 months of 2012. 0.3%, its second quarter in growth, but that's still not helping shares there into the green.
All right, and there's lots of company news around today, including Google getting out of the mobile phone business.
Yes, it's selling its Motorola mobility division to the Chinese tech giant Lenovo for $2.9 billion. Google bought the company 2 years ago for more than $12 billion, its biggest ever acquisition. But that purchase was mainly to secure the company's 17,000 patents, the majority of which it will keep under this deal. Lenovo's investors not too pleased, though. Shares in the company closed down over 8% in Hong Kong. Revenues at Facebook soared by 63% in the last 3 months of 2012. Overall, the company made a profit of $1.5 billion last year. Facebook earned more than half of its revenue from mobile ads. The social network had 1.23 billion users per month, with more than 3/4 of them accessing the network from their mobile phones. And despite warnings it will lose money this year, Nintendo's president says the company won't be changing the way it does business. Satoru Iwata brushed off criticisms that the firm should update its products for the smartphone age. But he did say the video game maker plans to enter the healthcare industry without giving any further details.
All right, there's been some discussions that have begun to get away here in France about simplifying the tax system. I think it's good news to all of us who live here.
Yes, exactly. Employers, unions and politicians all involved in those discussions to try to work out how to make things easier for those paying tax. They're looking at the thousands of different taxes that apply here in France to see which ones could be gotten rid of. It's part of the French president's pledge to reduce red tape, particularly for businesses. Siobhan Silk has been looking at some of those measures that could get the chop.
Good for the skin and the public purse. Like all cosmetics, moisturiser is taxed at 0.1% on top of VAT, but that only brings in €3 million a year. Then there's the barge tax, a charge on every tonne of goods transported on rivers and canals. That adds to €1 million a year. The tax on pinball machines, €5 per machine per year, is another of the 81 micro-taxes that each earn under €5.5 million for the French Treasury. It might seem like it adds up, but the cost of collecting the money means it's hardly worthwhile.
It's a bit of a waste of time, and it's true that it's burdensome, but after all, we're in a democracy, and we have to respect the law. But it seems to be a significant cost for the administration, and also for my colleagues and me.
The government is promising to do a spring clean.
When a tax brings in less than the cost of collecting it, I think it's not absurd to eliminate it.
The efficiency drive is part of a general overhaul of the French tax system, a relief for businesses. Since President François Hollande took office 2 years ago, taxes have gone up by €30 billion, an effort to rein in the €87 billion budget deficit.
All right, we have to leave it there, but thanks very much for the wrap-up of the business news, Stephen Carroll. Time now to have a look at what's making headlines in the international press. And for that, of course, I'm joined on set by our press reviewer, Florence Filomeno. You're looking at a lot of reactions to President Barack Obama's State of the Union address.
That's right. Papers are still reacting to that today. Let's take a look at the Wall Street Journal. The conservative paper says that